Okay, so I want to share just some revelation that the Lord gave me from reading Genesis 24. I'm not gonna go through the whole. I'm not gonna read through the whole chapter, but I took notes on what stood out, and so I just want to share that. So number one, the counterfeits were sent away. So basically, this is the story of Isaac and Rebecca, married Isaac, obviously. But looking a little further after chapter 24, something that I noticed is that Hagar was sent away. The counterfeits were sent away, but the promise stayed. So Rebecca stayed, because she was the one, that was his wife. But the other people were sent away. And so this is what the Lord is doing as well. Like, even in the kingdom marriage journey, God is sending away, or even your spouse to be, or your spouse currently, they might be sending away these people that are not the promise of God for their life. They're sending away these counterfeits. They're saying, no, you cannot stay here with me. You need to leave. You need to go somewhere, you know? So they're being sent away. Another thing is that Rebecca received gifts. So she received clothes and jewelry. And so this was just as a way of the servant showing his gratitude to the Lord for answering his prayer. And so, this is a time where, God is really preparing his sons and daughters for reconciliation. And in this time, there's gratitude. The spouses have come to this realization like, oh wow, this is actually the person for me. This is actually the person that God chose. So they're giving God glory, and they're wanting to celebrate and show you, show this adoration by displaying these gifts to you. Or it could be vice versa as well. You can be giving gifts to them. But for Rebecca, these gifts were clothes and jewelry. So Rebecca received gifts. And so God may have even spoken to you about being expectant of receiving gifts, or you might have been instructed to prepare a gift for your person. So another thing is that Rebecca was living with her mother and siblings before she left. And so she basically had to leave where she was. There was a change in her living situation. And so God has been really moving a lot of his children. And so God might be preparing you for your departure into the land that he's promised you. Because mind you, Abraham was in the land of promise. He was in the land that God promised him. But he wanted Isaac to have a wife that was not from that area, because the women in that area they just were not equally yoked with him. And so that was another thing that I noted too, because Isaac couldn't get a wife from the women that were around him. So basically, like, your person might have a lot of other people around them that they could, like, potentially they might have considered them, but like the truth is that the people around them are not suitable for them. And the Lord had to really go out of, like, the Lord will, do what he has to do so that you can be brought to him. Literally in the story, Rebecca followed the servant back to Isaac, and Isaac was standing there, coming towards him, and he found her. He saw her coming towards him. And so, just knowing that the Lord wants to present you, and sometimes that presentation and that coming together requires you leaving where you are. And so, for example, maybe you are living with family right now. The Lord might be moving you to depart from living there. Whatever your living situation is, the Lord might be calling you to leave. And if you believe that that part is for you, then just do what you can to make those preparations to go. and and have the courage to go, because there might be things that hold you back, like fear or feeling unprepared, and the Lord really wants you to be prepared. And so really just take advantage of the time that you have and really pray and ask the Lord to guide you on, what to do and how to prepare, and how to go about the moving process. And so with Rebecca moving, she was entering into this new land, and this was really kind of like it was like a threefold, it was a multiple fold blessing for her, because not only was she entering into this new land, she was entering into marriage, and she was entering into wealth, because Isaac had basically the wealth of his father. And what I noted as well is that he Isaac received double from his father's estate, so he had double from his father. And so the Lord just really wants to bring um, just an abundance of wealth to you and your spouse, um, and you're going to be like really sharing in that. So it was new land, wealth, and marriage, and that's really what God is doing for his children as well. Like, not only are you going to be relocating, but you're also going to be entering into this marriage promise, and that is also going to come with wealth. Um, and so Isaac loved Rebecca, and he was comforted from his pain and grief. And so I just thought it was beautiful that it was noted that Isaac loved Rebecca, and just know that, the person that God has chosen for you, they're going to love you. They're going to genuinely love you. And from you being with them, from your presence, from you just being that companion, they are going to experience comfort, from the pain and the grief that they've experienced. So they might have experienced, pain, trauma, grief, just a lot emotionally, things that have been heavy. And when you come into union with them, it's just going to be this sense of relief that they experience, this comfort that they experience. And so, with Rebecca leaving as well, like, the Lord confirms to the servant that Rebecca was the one that was, meant to be Isaac's wife. And, there was some requests, from his family, like, let her stay at least 10 more days. And the servant was like, the servant didn't want there to be any more delay because it had been made clear already, and the Lord had already prepared his way. And so this was kind of like important too, because, you know, like, the Lord really wants things to happen quickly. And so doing what you can do, like I said, with the preparation, not letting fear or sabotage or doubt or discouragement delay you, because the Lord has prepared the way. The Lord, if this word is for you, the Lord has already shown you what he's doing, and he's shown your person who you are. Um, he's shown you, like, that it's time for you to go and really enter into this land and enter into this promise. And so don't allow the voices of others in your current environment to get in the way of you stepping out into what God wants for you. You know, and that's part of why this relocation needed to occur, because, sometimes it's like when you're in this environment where there's people with, like, just not the full, it's like you're the one stepping into this, and so you have the vision, you have the word, and so you have to be the one to step into it, come into agreement with it, because these other people that are seeing, you know, your life on the outside, they're not the ones that, God spoke this promise to. They're not the ones that went through this journey. It's you. So you have to be the one to not let, you know, their their desires get in the way of God's desire for your life, because the Lord has prepared this way for you. And so he just wants you to walk in it. Also, Isaac was a man of prayer. And so, for example, a little after chapter 24, um, after they were married, Rebecca wasn't initially able to have children, but Isaac prayed and God blessed her with twins. And so just knowing that, even in the marriage, as the husband, like he's going to become, if he's not already, he's going to be a man of prayer, and he's going to believe God, and he's going to intercede for you, and you're going to intercede for them as well. But just knowing that your spouse is going to be a man of prayer. And then also, um, after Rebecca traveled to the new land, for her it was new, that it was the land of promise. After she traveled there, um, she got married very quickly, Um, she went there with the camels, and Isaac saw her from afar and he came towards her. Then, they went through the marriage process and they were married. So there was not really a lot that happened in between that. And so the Lord just wants you to understand that this is something that he's doing quickly. This is something that is going to happen quickly. And the other day, I got a box, and on the box it said, "Fast deliveries are my love language." It said something along those lines. It basically said, "Fast deliveries is my love language." And that really just stood out to me. And even as the Lord was speaking to me about things happening quickly, God reminded me of that. So this is God's way of displaying his love for you, because God knows what you've endured. God knows the time that it's taken, but God has been perfecting you in this time. And once it's been perfected, for you to be in this stage to fully, enter into this promise, then he's going to do it quickly for you. And so another thing, as well, is that Isaac took Rebecca into his mother's tent. Like, everyone's wedding is going to look different, but for some, um, like, you may have a tent involved in your wedding, like having a tent wedding, a wedding under a tent. That was just what I kind of got from this. Or a a backyard wedding, possibly an outdoor wedding, just because it was, a tent, like outside, like outdoors or backyard, things like that. That might be for you. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of specific. Also, Rebecca had a nurse with her during her travel, so there was an attendant with her, and so Lord just wants you to understand, like, if you're in the process of moving, if God's preparing you to move, there is going to be someone with you. Obviously, it's going to be God with you during this time, but the Lord may also send someone to help you and make sure that you're safe and that you're okay during your travels, because the nurse was with her along with the servant and the other men as they were heading to Isaac, And so as you're heading to this place, you're not going to be alone, and God is going to be with you, his presence, and he may also provide you with a divine helper. Another thing I noted was that Rebecca was beautiful, and so God might have had you going through these beauty treatments, and your spouse is going to see you as beautiful. And also, Rebecca was an answered prayer, and so you are literally an answered prayer for your spouse. And really quickly, I just want to read from Revelation. And so, just kind of going back to the Lord doing things quickly, it says, "Listen, I will come as a thief comes. Blessed are those who stay awake and keep their clothes on, so that they will not walk around naked and have people see their shame." And so with this, the Lord really just wants you to stay awake and keep your clothes on. Basically, stay ready, because, it says, "I will come as a thief comes." And just so knowing that, like, just being prepared and not being caught off guard, being in expectation, staying awake, and having your clothes on. So being dressed and ready for, also for the Lord's coming, but also for when it's time for you to really embark on this journey and step into this. And so that's all I have for right now. I pray that this blessed you, and be blessed in Jesus' name.